around, you see the people, even ourselves, we're in Janam Marana grave. And Guruji says it's because we love something other than Vaheguru. Why we love something else, we're loving that instead. And because of that, our Janam and Maran doesn't stop. And it hasn't stopped for many, many jug. If you're here today, you've got to imagine that the world was created millions of years ago. Since it was created, your gene, your Atma has been going through some lifetimes. So Guruji says it's going around in this Janam Marana gear. Maya Mamta Mohani Jir Vedanta Jagapaya. Guruji says Maya is like it's so attractive that without even done, it's ate the whole world up. Without even teeth, it's eating the world up. Guruji says in this dunya, if you're not planting the naam here while you're here, because when you go to the next world, they're going to see what have you got with you when you go there. And it says, because if you haven't got anything to eat there, because how are you going to survive there? In other words, they say you haven't got any tan, so you get sent back into this Janam Marana gear that we talked about. The Bhagavatam says Sariyam Dod Kadena Aya. Guru says the Bhagavat, when you do Bhagavati and Sansari is the person who loves this dunya more than Vaheguru. Guru says the Bhagavat and Sansari, they can never meet together. They don't match. It's an incompatibility. So these are the things that Guruji is saying about this world. Now when we look up through the next slide, some of the things are quite shocking. Some things aren't very, when you really look at where we really are, I think we're in a cuckoo land. We're in a little bit of this cocoon that we think that when you come to the Gurdwara and you do Bhakti, you did Kamaaee camp, from what I understand. Kamaaee camp, in the Kamaaee camp, you do Bhakti, that sukh that you get from that, you won't get that anywhere. You can try and find relationship, you can try and find some money, you can try and find a job, you can try and find anything. Or the sukh of doing bhakti, your sukh, Prabhu Gobind ki seva, so sukh rajana deiye. Now all the dunya, in the dunya, we do our work, we do our काम. Guruji says, see Raj level, even if you get kingdoms, the sukh that you get from that little bit of bhakti, you can't get that in that kingdom. It doesn't matter if you have money can't buy that thing. And that's the cheese that is never going to change. Now, when we look at what this is, the world now, well, a physical world is very physical. To do anything, you have to be, one person has to be next to the other person for anything to happen, whether that's communication, whether that's even swindling, anything like that, you have to be virtually next to the person. Nowadays, in the virtual world, all our friends are changed. Now, you can have a friend that you've never met now in this world. In this world, because it's virtual, you can actually do lots of things that you don't have to physically be anywhere. You can be physically sitting where you are and do loads of things around the dunya. So that's a big, massive change from what it used to be like. Secondly, technology has had a very, very big impact on our lives. Technology outside our life has physically changed. When the telephone has become an extension of a human being. It's some really good things about technology, but there's very bad things about it as well. How does Sikhi spirituality and seva change? As the dunya is changing, what the question I want to get kind of the thought process going is, how does Sikhi spirituality and seva change now that the world is changing? For instance, is our seva still the same thing? If we look at Gurdwara runs now. Gurdwara is Sunday Diwan, that's where the Sangat come. They come on Sundays. And is that it now, Bhakti? Is that how we're going to do seva moving forward? And hopefully, when you see the end, by the end of the slide, you realize that doesn't work. It's not going to work. So how are people changing? They're the kind of things we're going to start talking about. And why do people want Sikhi? If you really think about it, we're trying to talk about Sikhi and do Bajar of Sikhi. Why would people want it in the dunya that's changing so much? So they're the kind of things we're going to talk about. Now, the first thing that I'm going to say is the internet. You can't actually read the quote right there. With internet and social media, is the biggest changing factor in everyone's life now. Mobile usage is up 60% since 2 years. So since 2 years ago, this thing's growing up and up and up, and basically everyone's going to have phones now. 55 to 64-year-olds are the biggest growth. Now you would have thought that your social networking and all that, it's the young kids who are doing it all. But it's not. The older people, older generations now are using it loads. They're the fastest growing group. And when you look at the monthly usage, Facebook, Twitter, I'm not going to read these out. I mean, billions of users using these things. YouTube, they're 1 billion visitors. Now, these are the kind of things when we talk about Sikhi, we don't talk about them like there's something on the side. That's a fact now, it's part of the world. And these are the things that have destroyed people Sikhi. At the same time, they can be very beneficial for you Sikhi. Now, going online and doing these kind of things, that can lead to many, many problems. And some of the problems that the youth are getting into is that where I was talking about this virtual world, where the physical world used to be before, you might have to physically talk to somebody, now you don't. So now even parents don't even know what children are doing, and it's become a kind of a very distant relationship from children. Because the children are doing their own thing in a savvy way, and the parents don't really know anything about it. So the problems with this area is that cybercrime and cyberbullying are a big problem. Instant audiences of billions. Now people have done some really stupid things on the internet where you throw something up there, all of a sudden the whole world sees it. And you can do some really, really silly things. And that becomes a very big problem for someone who's not very mature, someone who's not got control of themselves, someone who's like, who's not morally very, very high. Making friends is really, really too easy now. Whereas before you used to have to go and make a friend before. It's easy now. People are just making friends. It's becoming really silly, really. Child protection has become a big problem because all of the predators on the internet. And $57 billion porn industry. Now that's the worst thing on the whole internet, and that's the most popular thing on the whole internet. Now, what we've got to remember is, when we bring it all back to Sikhi, anything that a person does, anything that a human being does, it's what your sochani is. Gurmat and Gurbani is all about changing that thing. Now, that's not having an effect on the majority of the world. So what's going to happen on the internet is a reflection of people's buddhi.
Sorry, Bhai, just going to move the mic closer, yeah? We're just going to move 1 minute.
It's a reflection of people's mind, is what the internet is. That's what these websites are, that's what these different things are. This person's thinking, they've been able to express it in a way, and then it's collectively showed you what people are thinking in one place. So it's a fascinating thing. It can be very effective if it's used in the right way. Imagine everyone was bugs, and you had the internet, it'd be a very different thing. It's a fascinating thing, but it's an issue, because as you'll see later on, as Dharma goes lower and Bhai goes higher, this reflection and people's access to it is just going to become very, very problematic. Now, relationships, again you can't see the title there, but relationships. Now, when we talk about Anand Karaj in Sikhi, Anand Karaj was Ek Jod Doe Murti, and we use that Pankti a lot. But if you look at the way the dunya is doing relationships, it's very different from that. If we start at the top, that online, more people are they're meeting their partners online through different means. So this isn't a talk to give people bad ideas. It was just, this is reality of what's happening in the world. They're online, people are doing all sorts of silly things on there. Living apart and together. Now this is a big massive phenomenon that's happening in the dunya, where one person's living somewhere else, another person's living somewhere else, and it could be on the other side of the country, could be in different countries, but they're kind of together. So they come together on a weekend or something, and they go away and stuff, and it's just because of work pressures and various things that are making people's lives very different now, where our idea of what marriage is changing. And if you look at people who don't even care about marriage, from 1960 to 2010, you can see the difference between people where they used to, if people were together, generally they were married. Now they're not married, and it's growing up in a curve. And 8 million people in this national marriage project in America. That was just one country, but there's so many people now who aren't even together officially, if you like, or through a ceremony. But then the divorce rates now, even in Sikhi, this has gone like very, very bad. And there's many reasons why people are getting divorced. And when you ask the legal people, the ones who deal with the litigation and all that kind of thing, they've kind of summarized it. And generally, when you look at UK, US, and different countries, the reasons are getting pretty similar. And the biggest reason is that people are growing apart. In other words, they just hate each other, they can't connect with each other. And when you go through some of the other slides, you see what's happening to create some of that divide. But certain things are unable to talk. Now, it's easier to talk to other people now than to talk to your partner. Alcohol, drugs, finances, in-laws, and infidelity used to be the worst one, where people had an affair or something and then they were split up, but that's going less. People are they're hating each other. It's not to do with that, they just can't. Their lives have gone so complex that they can't connect with each other anymore. And one of the things I do want to say about the social world and the social networking is that you've got to remember the most intimate conversation that you can have with someone is when you're standing in front of them. The second is when you go on the telephone. The third is when you write them a letter or an email. The fourth is when you use chatting. And the fifth is whatever, Twitter or something like that. So these things are becoming less and less intimate. But they're easier to do. So as they're becoming less and less, your conversations, your relationships are becoming less and less intimate. Maybe is it that people are losing that thing? And it's easier just to be electronic conversations? So that's a big problem now in Sikhi. Now, I think it's getting close to 1 in every 3, 1 in every 2 nearly, and that's in Amritaris. So it's an exceptionally bad thing that needs to be thought about. But the thing I want to think in the back of our minds as we're talking through these things is that Seva needs to change. If you're Gursikh, you're the next generation. Your children are going to be the next generation. Your seva needs to change. It needs to be very different. And seva isn't just about doing, before we say we sit on the daily seva, jog, the seva, tika, we have to do those. But our seva as individuals on this planet, it has to be very, very different to cope with some of these problems. Now, family life is becoming there's becoming different problems we're getting in our family life. Now, if we look at parental care, living longer, now human beings are living longer. That means our parents, they're going to be around for a lot longer than perhaps someone's parents were 30, 40, 50 years ago. That means that causes a bit of a strain on people's families, because there's a looking after that you have to do inside of your life. And sometimes that's causing problems inside of the families. And careers and pregnancy, so women are becoming more professional, they're getting better careers, they're getting better jobs. Because of that, they're having babies later, and that's causing certain issues. So the age of a mother can be a lot higher now, whereas before it might be very young. Marriage age, now even in the US, to get remarried 4 times, that's kind of 20%, 3 or 4 times, 20-30% of the people are married 3rd time there. So when people are getting remarried, that's coming later on in their lives, and then they're probably having children then. So you're having children later, people are living longer, so the age factors are causing an issue inside of there. The work pressures, now some of these are ridiculous, but it's from UK, but 81% think of work at home, so we're coming home and all we're thinking about is what we're doing at work. And that's 4 in every 5 people. There's work after hours, people are spending more time at work, so that's having a strain. There's people dreaming about work, so जितने गुरुजी कह रहे सी भाई सुपने में जो वाहे को so you have to have the bhakti or naam or something. We're thinking more about, oh my gosh, this got this project to do, and 47% don't have time for personal interests. Now that's really bad. That's 1 in every 2 people. Your personal interest that you enjoy in your life, you can't do it because of your work. Well, what are you working for then? So 43% would rather be at work than at home. So you'd rather be working than sit at home saying, "Mera sir kha liya, family ne." That's really what they're saying. And 36% fight with the partner because of overwork. So 1 in every 3 is fighting because they've done a bit of overtime and it's having a strain on their family. So the work pressures are causing lots of problems inside of Sikhi. But the parenting, now more advice is sought on parenting now because it's a different type of parenting from before. The kids are getting advanced. They're advancing really quick. Where I touched a computer when I was 14, 13, 15 probably, these guys have got it when they're 2. And we weren't doing anything there major. We were kind of writing a program to get the lights switch on and off. And these guys are going on there and they're going CBBS and they're doing all sorts of things while they're kids. So there's a different type of parenting that's needed now and they need advice on that. So when we talk about seva, if you're Gursikhs, what seva can you do to help a parent their children correctly? It's a bit like when we're introducing certain books and things. Disciplining. The trends have changed, whereas before Nyana was doing something to get spanked or something. Here now it's like, oh, time out and doing all these various things. That it's a different way of thinking for parents. And sitting children in front of TV or the internet is so simple and easy thing to do. If anyone who's got children, you'll know it's very easy just to say, oh my gosh, just sit on there, put that TV on and just walk away. And things like, attention deficit disorder, it's like now they're getting it because some of the research saying you sit a kid in front of TV more than an hour or 2 a day, is that they are getting issues. So career advice for children is more challenging now. So as the careers are changing, technically advanced, all those kind of things, an armed parent can't really advise them. Whereas before it was like Dr. Banja, lawyer Banja, it's kind of relatively simple. Now it's like there's a whole scope of different things that they could be doing. Now dads are spending more time with kids due to women's careers and overall divorce rates. Now that's a big massive change that's happening, is that father time with children, whereas before you might have designed something for a mom when a kid's 3. Now, from a Sikhi point of view, we should be designing things for dads as well. they're part of the family too. And digital parenting is now a new challenge. So, in the digital world, how do we parent inside of there? Because the kids are accessing lots of different things. And children are living at home longer. Now, even in places like Italy and apparently and other places, there's people who are 40 years old, 80% of it men 40 years old staying with their parents. So you can imagine if children are staying, whereas traditionally Sikhi, the boys used to stay with their parents. I think it's a bad idea nowadays. But as children are living longer and they're staying with their parents, if all the boys stay with their parents, well, that's all sorts of different strain going on. And pet ownership. Lots of people own pets and they're becoming part of a family, and that's its own thing on its own. Work life. Now retirement age, you guys are probably all thinking about you're going to retire at 50, 60. Well, if the doctor tells you you're going to live to 95, then you're going to have a long retirement. And what you're going to do for 30 years. So the retirement age is slowly going higher, so that's a different change. Now in Gurbani, when we talk to Guruji, we talk to Kabir ji kare bare bars balapan beete. He goes, a person is a child for 12 years. 20 baras ke chitapana kiyo. So he says for another 20, from 12 to 32, that's the cause, the main part of your Jawani. 30 baras ki devna puja, fir pachitana bird payo. So from 32 to 62, Kabir ji is saying, that's the second part of your Jawani. So at 62, Kabir ji is saying, Buddha ho gaya tusi.
Now we, as a dunya is saying the retirement age, so as Bhai at 65 even, where Bhai come karde really. And so, bird would mean for a reason, in Bani bird means that your faculties are they're becoming less and less useful. You're not being able to use your body in the way that you could before. So if your eyes are getting worse, your ears are getting worse, everything, your body, you're getting knees, everyone's knees start hurting, backache, all those kind of things. That's a bird. Now if you're still working at that age, that's causing another problem. And even distance from work now has gone higher because flights and all that kind of stuff. People are actually working in Europe. So they might do your careers might be that you do 2 days in Europe and then you do 3 days at home or something like that. So that's a different kind of thing. So when we talk about these things, how does our seva change there? When we're going to get to those ages, if someone's traveling a lot, how can we do prachar to them? They're the kind of things we should be thinking about. For instance, there should be more portable stuff for us now. There should be different things that we could do while people are traveling. And clearly women, now women have really gone into a lot of different fields now. And when our Sikh parents or Asian parents were raising children, they were raising them saying, oh, when you're older, you're going to be a housewife or something like that. Well, that's not reality. So journalism, law, marketing, communication, there's all sorts of areas where women are actually becoming the majority. And armed forces, construction and physical work, where before a woman you would say they don't do that kind of stuff where it's kind of physical, well more women are doing that now. So that's a big change. And when we talk about religion, now this is going to affect us a lot. As Gursikhs, religion, the Everything World Religions book, I spelled that wrong there, claims that there are 4,200 religions and there's 10,000 fragments. And they're growing 2 or 3 by the day. So now, later on, when we start talking about Sikhi to people, when we talk to them about Sikhism, what are they going to think of it? There's going to be 9,999 other things that they can think about. So that prachar becomes more difficult to be able to do it to people. Now, when they asked in America, there's a Pew study about people, when you ask people how important is religion in your life, these guys said 58% of Americans said it was really, really important. But you look at Britain, France, Germany, Spain, they just think, yeah, blah, blah, religion, and you can't blame them. It's because of some of the news media that you're getting about religion now. The Catholic priests and what they're doing, the Islamic terrorists and all the stuff that they're doing. You know, there's all sorts of stuff talking, and they're blaming the word religion for that. Really, it's the issue is with the organisations, the way those things working. But belief in God to be moral. So when you ask someone now, do you have to believe in God to be of high morality? People, you know, US is high, but all the other countries are very low. So people don't think that you need to believe in God now. So the moral thing is going to change, where people are saying, what's your code of conduct to be moral, to have high morals? It isn't necessarily going to be, someone's going to say, you have to be a Sikh. It's going to be like, well, what do you need that for? There's other ways of doing it. And just health and well-being, and these are the kind of things that, now it's almost like it's just like some straightforward advice. It's not, it's complex. People's lives are complex now. It's not give one person the same advice as the next. It's not. It's very much like Bhai Gurdas ji used to say, a doctor listens to the ailment, and they give them the right advice like a medicine. And that person, if they take the medicine, they become fine. And that's what everyone has to be like. You have to be like a doctor. You're listening to the problems and the ailments, and you're giving them a solution. Obesity in children as well, particularly if you've got children. Those kids are not, I mean, we did an application for the school in Coventry, and what we did was pull down the child profile for Coventry, and the obesity rates are extremely high in young children, and children are not doing 3 hours of exercise a week. Now if we look at our kids do not do that. And it's not the kids' fault, it's the parents' fault. So they ought to be putting children in, but forgetting about children, as we get older, there needs to be some regimes that we should be setting up. Exercise regimes, even if we're doing camps like this, and exercise should be an important part of it. And some of the things that change, self-diagnosis, people are going on the internet now to find out what medicine they need for their problem. So that's becoming a massive industry on the internet, but it might not be a great idea. But to be honest, I mean, I've been to the doctor a couple of times for things, and they just give you these antibiotics for everything. It's the same one as well. You think, yeah, that'll fix everything. It's amazing. All it does is that your immune system becomes, it knows about it, and it becomes immune to that antibiotic as well. So it's next to useless. And the things that are going to affect us more is that we're driving down the road, and then you've got these drunk drivers on the road now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear about that someone's just been seriously hurt because of someone else who's been on drugs. And if you look at that problem here, this is UK and US, 100% here. How many people in the last 12 months have drank alcohol? 90-something%. And that's in both countries, and that's across the world. So they're all drinking, right? And then even cannabis now has become so high, 80-odd% in USA and 70-odd% in UK. They're taking hard drugs like cannabis. Tobacco is high, and these other drugs, MDMA, I don't know what that is. And there's other stuff, all sorts of like drugs going down and down, and they're all kind of 50-40%. People are taking these really, really bad drugs, and they're going behind the steering wheel. That puts everyone's lives in danger. And we're driving down the road just thinking we're going from A to B, but you've got to be more careful now. So health and well-being. One of the good things, vegetarian diets are going up higher. People are becoming more aware of them. I remember I went to America about 1995, 96, something like that. There's Walmart. There's absolutely nothing there, even marked as vegetarian. But now, at least the labelling is starting to become. And diets, more people are on diets, and more people are into training and stuff. So they're the kind of things that how the world is changing in that respect. But this one was really interesting. It's travel. That as part of our lives, you as a Gursikh, what's your thoughts on travel? Do you think that everyone should be? Do you feel that you should be having a holiday every 6 months or something? Is that your idea of a release for life? Because for the majority of people, what travel aspect makes you happy is new experiences, culture. So people want to see new things. And they agree that traveling, 71% agree that it's vital to their happiness. So what are our thoughts on that? Is that do I have to have a holiday to be happy? You might say yeah, but really? And who are the happiest people travelling with? They're more happier. If you look at this, people are happy to go with their friends than with their family. And loads of people would rather travel on their own. And 8% of people in relationships, as I reckon, would rather go on their own rather than their partner. But they say that travelling is more vital to their happiness than retirement, having a baby, buying a car, getting promoted, getting married, purchasing a home. And if you look at this, what inspires people to travel, 16% of it is just by watching a film, but it's the internet. Again, 60% of people just seeing something on the internet, they want to go there. So that's changed that thing as well. So travel, where does that fit into this whole thing? And I think this is one of the last slides. I don't want to go statistical in this lecture, but changing mums. So if you look at this, it's a good slide for you because it's Bibia here. But if you look at that, how many mums are on the internet now? 220 minutes a day. Oh my gosh, so 95. So pregnant mums, 220 minutes. New mums. So they're spending a lot of time on the internet. And 1 in 4 owns a smartphone, 37% of mums. This is a Microsoft kind of study that they did. And this is another thing. People do 2 or 3 things at the same time nowadays. So they're becoming these multitaskers. So you're talking to someone else and writing a text message at the same time, and they've got a phone call coming in as well. There's all those kind of things. But sitting in front of TV, people don't watch TV anymore. They sit there, but they're doing 5 other things. So they've got their whole life sorted out and doing that. So when I read this thing, a book once about bhakti, it's about meditation. It was a Sikhi book, but what the guy's saying is that do one thing at a time. If you do one thing at a time, number one, you focus better on it, but it makes you simran better. It makes you simran better, because when you try to do simran, what actually happens? you try to do bhakti, then 9 other things start happening. So just a habit we're getting into is trying to do 9 things at the same time. It's going to come and backfire on you later when you're trying to do Simran. And so doing one thing at a time and taking your time about it is actually a form of being happy, being more connected to what you're doing. Now, this is next generation, and this is important. I know some of you are the next generation, but you've got children who are going to be next or the next one after that. Now, what are the characteristics that we should be instilling into children? And they need to be more resilient now. It's more difficult to be a Gursikh as you're growing up. Spiritually advanced. Now, if you just let children loose on the internet, I don't know what they're going to get. That's all. It's going to have to be spiritually advanced. There's going to be some things going on to make them more advanced. It's high moral character. Tech savvy, they have to be that anyway. Otherwise they won't survive in the dunya. It's tolerant, confident, professional, prominent. I mean, Sikhs are not prominent. There's no prominence of Sikhs, and everything that's advertised about at the start is about some Taliban person or some Islamic fundamentalist, because no one really knows that Sikh, the word Sikh isn't even known all around the world, and we're influencing local, national and world decisions. We don't influence anything, because our people are not in the right, they're not in the right careers, they're not in the right environments to be influencing them. But the pressures for your children, or the pressures for us even, is that the tolerance of religion is that people are becoming less tolerant with religion now, and society is becoming more moral? It's more of a question. I mean, society is becoming more immoral because the foundation have all changed. People haven't got a clear foundation of what they follow for their morality, and looking and being different is a difficult thing for children. If you're looking and feeling and being different, they have to be quite confident with that. They have to be very, very secure inside if you're doing that. And ease of access to information, that can be really good, but it can be exceptionally bad. Fundamentalism in Islam and all that, they do it over the internet. Conversions and all that, that's all. Some of it is access to information. And bhakti. This is a question, does our bhakti change in time? That's the question I'm going to ask in a minute. But the future of seva, when we talk about seva, you're doing seva for the dunya and seva as a Gursikh. And remember, seva is absolutely important that everyone. It's surprising to me that people, they become Gursikh or they do Amrit or they do things, but seva is zero. Don't really do anything. What do we actually do for other people? What do you actually do for the world? What do you actually do for the Guru? We say, is it all selfishness that I do my nithin so I'll get liberated or something? Is that what we're doing it for? It should be, so seva, Guruji said, Bich Duniya, seva Kamaaee, Tan Dargah Baisan Paiye, Bahu Nanak Baal Udaiye. Because when you go to the next dunya, if you do seva, and that doesn't mean Bali seva, Guruji also talks about seva, Naam Abhyas is seva as well. So, future of seva, usage and influence of Sikhi on social networks. So how are we influencing that decline, that problem that's coming with social networks? Shifting from books to e-books and apps. So if 90% of people are going to have a phone in their hand, you're not going to sit there and say, let's do all our Sikhi, write a book and publish it. People don't use books anymore. Well, less people use those. How are parents going to be supported? So how are we going to support the Sikh parents in this dunya, and attitudes of Sikhs to worldwide shift? So social world, gays, drug use, religious hatred. The gay phenomenon, we don't talk about that. Now in the US, 1 in every 10 bande is gay now. 1 in every 20 women is. Now, you got to think about this. When we have, let me go to this slide here. This is the last slide anyway. How would you accept Hukum of Waheguru if your children became more worldly than Sikhi? Now there's an example there. I've seen Gursikhs who have been absolutely fantastic Gursikhs. Right? When something slightly goes wrong in their family, bilkul zero ho jate hain. They become absolutely next to nothing. Now, if I was asking you a very, very hard question, if your children turn around to you and say, "Man, Sikhi, I don't like Sikhi, I want to be gay or something, I'm cyber criminal, I didn't admit it, I take drugs, I do these things. Our children are doing those things. Children are doing those things. And how would you accept the Guru's hukum? When we say, Pana Mananaya, how would you accept that if your family isn't going the way that you want your family to go? So you raised your children into Sikhi, you made them kept their gifts to do this. When they're 18, they cut their gifts. It's devastating. I've seen it. It's devastating to a family who spent that much time, who've invested that much effort, who said that's the right thing, and then they've gone the wrong way. How would you handle that? Because that's the social change that you've got to accept as well. And what parts of Sikhi do not change? I'm going to open that question to everybody. What do you think doesn't change in Sikhi? Even if this dunya, so you've got a good idea now, dunya has gone from this somewhere where it was 20, 30 years ago. I mean, I mentioned this a lot. Our parents used to leave the milk money on the doorstep. They used to leave the milk money on the doorstep. And no one used to walk past and say like, oh, with lottery nikal gayi, let's go down all the houses, pick all the money up and run home, I just made lots of money. They never used to think like that. You could actually leave your money on the doorstep, and the milkman used to come and get it and take it. So look how that things change. So what parts of Sikhi don't change, do you think? Truth doesn't change. What else doesn't change, do you think? If this world is changing a lot, Guru Granth Sahib doesn't change. But in terms of concept, what doesn't change? Simran doesn't change. What else doesn't change? Simran can change because you can put an MP3 player now and listen to it, no? So, but it doesn't change, you're right. It doesn't change as a thing. Bera doesn't change. Yeah. So being modern and trendy, you don't have to be that really. That doesn't have to change. Although you can be that. You can still wear sone kapade. Guruji didn't condemn you from doing that. He just says do it. You do it in humility. But the thing that we've got to really understand of Sikhi is this. What Bani's talking about is into Guru's charan. You have to put your chit into his charan. That can't change. Now the dunya is going to change. There's going to be all sorts of fashion going on. There's going to be all sorts of new ways of making money. There's going to be different careers going on. There's going to be all sorts of things. But you can't change that. You have to chitlana penaya. And slowly, they're going to look more beautiful in this dunya. They're going to look more sone. They're going to go more and more lovely, beautiful. There's going to become more absolutely awesome thing. Whereas that dunya is going to become fikka. It's going to look great. It's like the other tree, poisonous apples and all that. It's going to look great from the outside. But Guruji says, a ras is never going to change. Amrit ras will never change. You will never be able to get Amrit ras from what a dunya is doing. You can't. And then we go back to the first point where Guru says, Bhagavatate says Hariyan jor kade na aaya. The jor is karke nahi aa sakda, because from the dunya, unhanu ras nahi mil sakda kade. They're going to keep trying to find happiness. Go take another step, try and find it there. You're not going to, and I'm telling you this for free, and you know, people have different ideas, This is to not stop you getting married or something like that. You're not going to find happiness just from a relationship. Get it out of your head. You're not going to find happiness just by getting a great job, even though your parents told you that from day one. Get it out of your head. You're not going to find happiness just by being baron, I'm going to change something and make myself into some plastic surgery or something. I've been mentioning that here, but look how crazy that's gone. That ain't going to happen. Get it out of your head. That's your form of happiness. And that happiness is what Guruji says, Maya rang birang khine mein jo badal ki chhaya. So you sit under a tree and the sun's shining and the shade stops you from getting hot. But you can't sit there all day because the sun moves. And the sun moves and the sun comes on you. That shade ain't going to stay there all day. Se lal pe गूढ़े रंग राते जिन्हें गुरमिल हर हर गाया. This is an eternal truth. That जिन्हें गुरु ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ you did you did a Kamaaee camp here. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭਗਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਨਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਆ ਵੀ you ਆਪਣੇ ਸੋਚ you forget that for a bit. Even if you did it for 5 minutes while you're here. You forgot your source, you forgot your family, you forgot your life, you forgot your body, you forgot everything, and then you listen to Guruji for 5 seconds. That thing, that's Buddha Rang can only come through that. And this is becoming more and more attractive, this dunya is becoming, it's only for Muraks it becomes attractive. It's a fool attractive hoga. It's not for Bhakti. So when you're doing Bhakti, the dunya can change. Siddhan Guruji, even in one of Guru's Gobind Singh Ji's there, Guruji says the Ganga can start flowing the opposite way. The sun can start rising from the other angle. The rivers can flow the wrong way. Gravity goes putta, because my Sikh will not change. My Sikh will not change. But our Sikh are changing. Jinne Karat we doing, now at this stage, our children are doing, these kids are doing, it's gone to that angle like that on the grass. Why? Because they are changing. Guru says my Sikh doesn't change. He wants to love. So when you say, how does our seva change? We got all these things that are happening to our dunya. We got the internet, how are we going to change our seva for that? We got the travelling, how are we going to change our seva for that? We got people who are like, their relationships are under strain, how are we going to change our seva? We got depression, we got health problems, we got all sorts of things. We're sitting here, we're doing our seva inefficiently. And we can start pointing fingers at who to blame for that. But we're to blame. Because everyone can do something. We can blame organizations and different things. So as the dunya is changing, what do you see as the biggest challenge? Is the person, is it abhyas? Is your abhyas is good? Abhyas will not be good. You can live in Kukuland as long as you want. Abhyas will not be good unless you got a solid, strong Amritullah. You got something that you're doing in the morning. Bhai Gurdas says, Pichal Rati Jagana Naam Daan Ishnan Dedai. That's where it happens. Amritullah Jagana Pichal Rati which when the Raat is still there, Naam sound there, Daan your attitude towards seva is sown actually there. You ain't going to just become a seva later on in the day. It's sown at the Amritullah. And Ishnan, purity, you're cleansing. You can't cleanse your mind won't cleanse. There's no way of cleansing your mind when the day is like this. The mind is clean. It only goes clean when you wake up and you do something there early. Then it cleans. It won't happen if you say song for a long time and then wake up now and then say all of a sudden now I'm going to clean my mind. What jugdi are you going to use? A dunyani jugdi? Doesn't work anyway. That's to make it worse, that is. So what are you going to use? You have to use that thing. So does anyone see any other challenges?
Bad habits.
Bad habits? Janam the bad habit to get rid of those. And the Gurus gave one medicine. You know what the medicine in Bani throughout is? And this was very special compared to other religions. The medicine Guruji gave is, if before your mouth you can make your simmer and just carry on by all day, all night. So that's it, because no one's touching you later on. The next dunya can't touch you. You make it keep going on. And we all know that when we try to do bhakti, your mind says, oh, tired, we'll go on. Stop it now. And that's a big challenge, what Benji said there. So give up your habits. And one of the worst habits that we got is we don't want to do bhakti. That's a habit. It's like to find something else to do rather than that. I've done my bit. Has anyone got any questions on that specifically? Tika?
What seva should you be doing? Did you mean by like one seva to help people in their cooperative manner? Could you just advise me on that? How I know we do seva as a bondwell, we think that's seva.
Yeah.
Like longevity seva or something, but what other seva do we have?
the biggest seva that you can do is when a person or down howe na, that you can talk to them. So do you know when we talk about this, when we talk about dunya which jehdi sari intimacy aur chale gayi, you can't resolve someone's problem with a text message. To talk to someone, it's a very big seva. And one of the biggest sevas that you can do is when if you do some bhakti yourself, those people around you, just surrounding, it changes the environment. So that's one form. Ek personal seva hai one level of seva is to have a resource, make a resource for somebody. If everyone's done Amrit, what were the challenges that you had? How can you make someone, if you were doing it all again, how would you make it better? If you're doing it all over again and you said, right, we're going back, and you're doing it at the age of 18 or something, how would you change all that? And someone can get absolutely massive insight into saying, damn, I didn't even think of that. And so the seva in someone who's hurt is helping them. The other thing is helping someone who's on the path. That's one form of seva. There's also making our Gurdwara better, more accessible. There's doing more prachar about Sikhi generally as a message. Our Sikh message is not out there. People don't even know what it is. They just think they wear these swords and they wear these turbans and that's what Sikh is. Those two things. If you look at the message of Sikhi, getting that out, is ultimately Guruji says that asli seva, sa seva kiti safal hai, jit satguru ka man manne. Seva asliyat vich oi seva ya, where Guru da man man jave, that is seva. Jab satguru ka man manne ta paap ka sammal panne. You know that Guruji has accepted your seva, jit thoda koi paap mit jave. And if you got some bad point and it goes, you know Guruji has accepted some of your seva. But Guru da updesh sunna te kamana asli seva ho. That's asli seva. But anything to help anybody, anything to put the Sikhi, remember by getting the Sikhi message out to the dunya, it's going to make it easier for Gursik somewhere. For instance, we went to, I think East Midlands airport siga, think, only thanu rok dita without karpana. So that's because we haven't done seva there. No one's done seva to stand there and say, and that wasn't in Karpana. We went in packed luggage. Packed luggage which can be explained in Jani Sadhguru. And that says, all of these problems are slowly going to get worse and worse because of the tolerance we were talking about, intolerance. So anything, you'll be surprised. Shorty jai cheez ho where you're saying, if you could think of this, मैं अपना time cut के I'm going to do something for someone else, वो सेवा है. प्रभु का लिया किसी का दिल ना दबाई कुछ भी होए किसी का you get उधर फल मिलना सारे में. You could be anything, है ना? You'll be surprised what you can do. I think. There's mothers can help mothers. There's sisters can help sisters. There's brothers can help brothers. There's a Gursik can help a Gursik. There's someone who does Amritullah can help Amritullah Sikh. There's someone who does Bani can help someone do Bani. There's someone who's doing Kirtan can help Kirtan Kiya. There's no end of stuff you can do. There's lots of stuff. But all you want to do at the end is say, is Guru da Panth become something better now by you doing that? And one person helping another person can change a whole host of things. We know lots of people did it. We've been Munne ourselves. So Munne you can do something. You can get, there's lots of money, you got them into Sikhi, and all Sikhi will change. There is a lot to change Sikhi in general. So there's lots of things, as you get anyone on the path. Gursik nu milana, Gursik leke aap, Gursikhi leke, Gursik nu milana, a bahut bada phala. It's a very big cheese in Sikhi, and Gursiks used to do that before. Now it's become kind of personalized. So you don't make it personalized. How much you can, jida Bhai Gurdas keh rahe bhai, hathon deke bhala manaye. Kaal khaye, so krit kare. So you do your work honestly, but then you give some of that to somebody else. You'll be very surprised. The Swand, apne Gursik, Amrit chakya hove, the Swand nahi dinde, wo ta papi ya, you usually can say. That's what the Swand dekhe, you can give the Swand in many ways. You could give it to many different things. You dasma hissa is not yours. And so even that, everybody seva, so take that, and you can either just make it easy and give it to a charity, but you could do something with that money yourself. At the end of the year, end of the month, something, you could do lots of things yourself, you know? Tika? Is there any more questions? Hanji? Yeah.
Showing us in the show and then the business around it. How can we support other businesses from that not happening?
So beautiful, but wide question about divorce, that we know that those things are happening, so what preventative measures can we put in place to prevent those? Now, we could probably do a lecture on that on its own, but generally, there's many factors in this. And the factors are sometimes, you know what the worst thing is that you find is the attitude. It's very, very bad. Very bad. Their attitude towards marriage, their attitude towards the other family. And remember, that's both ways. Attitude is the worst thing. Secondly, parents they're in some other planet. They have their own idea about what marriage is. You've seen this now, dunya ki change ho rahi hai, sorry, then households are changing as well. Marriages are changing as well. Relationships are changing as well. People have to adapt to that. And remember, we're going to be in that place one day as well. So you can't just blame them. We're going to be moving up with our idea about what the dunya is doing. And look at the dunya has all gone to poo land already. It's all gone to some next level. And so there's two problems there. One is, how do you make parents understand that, you know what? It's not about you. It's about the children. The second thing is, how do you make children understand that if you really believe that you're an Amritdhari Sikh who does seva, and you can't even serve your own families, then tusi ghar hi beh jao. Is that oda bas de raho wali gall hai? Rather than ujjad jao, Guru Nanak Dev Ji said. So there's attitudes that need to change, but I think expectations of what a marriage is, I think is still based upon some soap opera or something. And what we have to understand is that there's some great things about getting married, there's some challenges that you have to face when you're getting married, but there's a line of happiness that if you stay on that line, you'll be happy. And I don't think people are clear about what that line is. And the line of happiness isn't how big your house was, whether you got a 5 or 7 Series BMW, whether you know who's got the better job. I'm better than the Joneses. That's not what it was. Happiness is what Guruji said, Bhagavad Ji keh rahe the, Sampe dekh na har ki hai, bipat dekh na roye. And what do? Guruji kehndे jadon when you get happiness, because bhangde na paan lag pay. Don't stop jumping up and down saying, look at this. We give out laddus for boys and no laddus for girls. All that is nonsense. There's no Sikhi. When you get happiness, Kabir is saying, don't start laughing. But he says, but when you get sadness, don't do rona, pitna, meri Sikhi sara case ki lalo sate thalle. You see that as well. Karpana lalo. Guruji, what did you do for me for? Main to bhakti karta hai. No, you're a fool. We're murkhs, we're vichhade. And it's all of those things about what do we understand ourselves, what's happiness? Oh, happiness, jitne se samjhe happiness, oh nahi hai. That's not it. Happiness is understanding all of the bits of your life that you got, put them all together, and then say, oh my gosh, how many people haven't got this? And you'll have a different idea about what it is. So, Gauri, I think it's a form, happiness is not there, bhakti is not there, and I don't know what it is, I don't know what they want, they're happy out of the marriage. There's something not right. But is it these things about slowing down? Important, teacher. I think our lives have gone so fast that we didn't even realize that, I just got disconnected from my partner. I don't even spend time with my children. I don't even think about my own health. I don't even think about my own bhakti. We don't do it. What we do is so engrossed in this other thing, which Guruji only calls duja pao. It's another love for something else. We got something so engrossed in it that we forgot about apna ghar is on fire underneath. So tolerance is a बहुत बड़ी चीज as well. What's the big deal? I know for a fact, I know this for a fact. If a girl's mother-in-law says something to her, she'll never take it. Her mother could say 5 times worse thing, and she'll next day she'll go, I know that for a fact. But when we talk about truth, we're not truthful to ourselves. We're not truthful. And it's the same with the Munda. He might say he's only protecting his own family, but when it's girl's family, they're like they're nothing. That's not secure. Look at the way. So, our attitude is how do you make someone who's really, really? You can't. Sometimes you just say, you can't change them. It's too hard. You might as well try moving a mountain. They don't change, but young people can change. You can be more, I think, and so, the support, when we talk about supporting marriages, that's very important. I think, before we were talking about it, I think we should do it here, should do it commentary, do it different places. Did it here? Just have a session for people who are married and got issues. Let them talk. Sometimes you let them talk. And sometimes that's all it is, it's just getting some burden off of people's heads. And we need to support them through, we need to support them in different ways. I think prevention is better than the cure. The cure never happens. I mean, I've been in the cure too many times, the cure didn't happen. It's just there's water, the water don't go under the bridge, it just drowns the bridge. It's kind of one of those. So,
But that's not something that you've done. That was meant to happen from my point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's finding the thing that makes you happy.
And people can change.
Yeah. And there's some people, I mean, I did something on happiness once, and there's we got a nature, human being in nature, suddenly different. Some people automatically drop over and they are to seeing depression all around them. That's the personality, they can't help it. Some people out there, they can get all sorts of adversity, they always stay kind of happy-ish. You probably know someone like that. They're always kind of like just cheery and all that, they're just happy. But sometimes you've got to understand what your nature is as well. If your nature is always just to say, I just need a little excuse and I'm going to just become this depressed, manic depressive who's not going to talk to anybody and just goes, then you need to know about that and get over that and find ways of staying away from that. No? You need to find ways of making your personality into a nice one. The nicest, strongest people are those, you can sit with them and you can talk to them and they make you happy. That's a nice person. A nice person is not someone who the Guruji says, I was telling them one thing, he told me 5 of his own problems. He was, I was banging my matha like this. And but Sad Sangat, when you sit in Sad Sangat, what that does give you, it gives you a happiness, what we talked about right at the beginning. You won't find that happiness or but you'll always still feel that, it'd be nice if I had this in my life. That's always going to be there. You'll always be saying, it'd be nice if I had that as well. But Guruji gives you those things anyway. And so, jira halat palat swarna hai. Satguru Singh ko halat palat sware. Your purpose of doing seva for Guru is, he's going to sort your life out here, and he's going to sort your life out up there as well. He does it all for you. Sometimes you have to go through an element of pain to get rid of a bad character flaw that we've got. Sometimes a bad thing is a blessing. But sometimes. But you can sit inside of that problem and say, oh my gosh, it's not, why is it happening to me? So you absolutely, yes, Sangat is foundation of your happiness.
Marriage, ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਲਈ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਲਈ ਚਲਾਉਣ ਪਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਿਗਿਨਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਲਚਰ ਲਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਰਿਸਪੈਕਟ ਪੈਦਾ ਕਰੀਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਗਿਨਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਦੱਸੀਏ ਵੀ beginning वो अपना रख सकते हैं relationship जे और later on किसी का 25-year-old or 26-year-old you give them a lecture they won't listen to you so it's from the beginning we have to do it
From young age.
and like once I never taught my son and one day he came home and he's 26 and he said I want to be chamcha for my wife. Well, I thought where did you heard that word from? He heard from the peers. So
Terrible.
we have to, from the beginning, make them.
So the young people are asking questions. These are your mother-in-laws, are they? I'm just wondering. It's sometimes about, you lose a battle or win the war. You don't think of it like that. They just say, I want to win every battle. And then they're both going to fight. But you just say, you lost that one, leave it. You've got life to live, yeah? Doesn't matter. And I've always found, if you look at it in your life, when someone tramples upon you a little bit, it comes back on them. Definitely. 900%. Comes back on them. You do trampling, it'll come back on you. Especially you try to simran and do namabhyas. You do mess about with someone and do something and you think, I won that one. You watch what happens to you. I guarantee you that. So no, it don't work like that. It's a now. It's absolutely 100% truth out here. That if someone, I've had it even at work, I've had it in different places where someone, they try to do scams on you, eventually it happens to them, you don't say anything to them. And the hardest thing, when I did a council camp lecture last year, we talked about Sarvan. Sarvan, Bhai Gurdashi said the ultimate son is Sarvan. So Sarvan, his wife didn't get on with his parents, and she made some dodgy khana and all that kind of stuff. And he got upset. He goes, no, and he took him on his back. They were disabled and blind. And he took him on his back. But that Saki, Bhai Gurdashi, he said, Sarvan Marga to Virla. Now, if we say we believe in Sikhi, it's not just about believing in it. There's some examples that have been set. And those examples are hard to follow. I can't. My mum wants to strangle her sometimes. She's just like that. But you got, it's not, I think we try to make ourselves so to be sant or something, innit? Sometimes they're just like that. Old people are just like that. And young people are just like that. So you have a little battle. But that's just the way things are sometimes. And you just got to say, either you're going to sit there, bang your head against a brick wall, or you just say, leave it, it doesn't matter. And so, tolerance in the bend, you get tolerance, it's not an easy thing. Somebody to have patience and say, over time, things will be great. They probably are great, by the way. Things probably are really, really good in your life. You're just probably sitting there thinking, glass is half empty rather than half full. It's that kind of switching. Things are probably really good. And the best thing I would ever say to anyone, Jai Prasad, in Sukhmani Sahib, Vikam, Krodh, and Lobamo, Bin Sajai, Aham Mev, Nanak Prabh Sharanagdi, Kar Prasad Gurdev, that whole Ashtapadi, just read it with art once. Jai Prasad, Shakti Amrit Khai, Guru says, Shakti Amrit Prakar, you get khana every day. You got a beautiful garden, you got beautiful nyane, you got your people talk to you, you got health, your body's working. He said, Guruji talks about all of those things. He goes, but all we complain about there is, oh, but I didn't get that one. That person said that to me, and I'm going to kill him for that. And so, instead of that attitude, if you read that whole Ashtapadi, the whole Ashtapadi is talking about how you got children, he gave you family, he gave you food, he gave you kapade, he gave you sona house, he gave you sona garden, he gave you beautiful things, he goes, you look at the dunya, he goes, you're breathing, you got all these things, he goes, at the end of it, he goes, fuck, you don't do anything. All you do is sit there, and the das vastu le pache pave, ek bast koran, bekhod dawave, ek pi nade das pi hirle, to muda ko kahan kare. That's what we do. We say, we got das vastu, we got 10 things. He said, the 11th one that I wanted, we lose the 10 that we had. When we talk about divorces and we talk about families breaking up one another, oh, das vastu guai leya. No. For the one that you wanted, you lost 10. And Guruji says, if I took all 10 of them, and the 11th one, and you, and destroyed you, killed you, what would you do then? What would you do then? He's giving you 55, 10 is just a short number. He's giving you loads of things. We've got the ability to do bhakti, you're breathing properly, your health is okay, your house is nice, right? You got sone, you got nice, you put dishes in the dishwasher, for goodness sake. I mean, you go to India, we in India, you look at the things and you think, that's not washed properly. We got all of these things. You look at your joda, you put your joda in India, they get robbed. And we just look at them and you can go and buy another one, you can buy 3 of those today. That jode kinne sone dite ho Maharaj ne thonu, your kapde kinne sone hai, dastar, you can buy silk dastar. Those kings used to wear those. You can do all of those things now with money, with the money that we've got. We've got more money than we've got sense. We've got all of those things.